Don't get in the car! Her voice broke through the night, urgent, trembling, desperate. But the millionaire just stared, confused by the maid's sudden panic. Behind him, the guards exchanged a glance. One whispered in Spanish, "Too late." The air shifted. The engine hummed, and in that breath between belief and disaster, everything changed. She had been invisible her whole life, until the moment she screamed the truth no one wanted to hear. This is the story of the woman who heard danger in another language, and became the shield no one saw coming. Welcome, story lovers. From where are you watching? Hit the like button and drop your city name in the comments so we can see how far our story travels. She moved like a shadow through the marble halls of the Rivera estate. Quiet, invisible, necessary. Every morning before sunrise, Elena adjusted her uniform, tied her hair back, and stepped into a world that wasn't hers. The mansion sat high above the city, guarded by iron gates and watched by cameras, a place where the powerful moved as if time itself bowed to them. To them, she was just the help, polite, efficient, unseen. Elena had learned early that silence was safety. She kept her eyes lowered, her tone neutral, her steps light. The billionaire, Mr. Rivera, barely noticed her presence beyond the polished floors and fresh flowers that marked her work. But she saw everything. The nervous drivers, the new guards with cold eyes, the hushed meetings in languages she couldn't quite catch. There was something about that week, the air heavier, the staff more tense. Mr. Rivera had returned from a trip overseas, his business dealings whispered about in tones of admiration and envy. Security had doubled overnight, and a convoy of expensive cars lined the driveway like a fleet ready for war. Still, Elena continued her tasks the way she always did. Cleaning, arranging, listening without meaning to. She'd grown used to the sound of wealth, laughter muffled by secrets, deals sealed behind locked doors. But sometimes, when she passed the courtyard and caught her reflection in the mansion's glass, she wondered if anyone inside even knew her name. It was late that Thursday evening when she noticed something different. The guards spoke faster than usual, their voices clipped and urgent. She didn't understand every word, but their tone was sharp, their eyes darting toward the millionaire's car. Something was wrong. She could feel it before she could explain it. And though she didn't know it yet, the moment she decided to listen, truly listen, would change everything. Elena had spent years blending into the background, but that night, something refused to let her fade. The guards' voices carried through the open courtyard, quick, hushed, almost frantic. She slowed her steps, pretending to adjust the tray in her hands. The men were near the garage, half hidden behind the polished SUVs, their words slicing through the cool evening air. They were speaking in Spanish, a language Elena knew well. At first, it sounded like the usual shift gossip, complaints about hours, orders from the boss. But then, one word froze her blood. Explosivo, she blinked, unsure she'd heard right. Another guard lowered his voice, almost whispering. Only delay him a few minutes, he said. The car takes care of the rest. Her hands trembled. She ducked behind a column, heart pounding so loud she was sure they could hear it. They kept talking. About timing, about making it look like an accident, about someone paying extra for silence. She understood enough to know this wasn't idle talk. Someone wanted Mr. Rivera dead. For a moment, she couldn't move. Every instinct screamed to stay quiet. This wasn't her business. People like her didn't get involved. The powerful had their secrets, and the poor who exposed them disappeared. But the image of the man, careless, loud, unaware, rose in her mind. Whatever he was, no one deserved to die like that. Elena's breath came in shaky bursts. She needed proof, or at least someone to believe her. But who? The head of security was part of the same circle. The household staff was too afraid of losing their jobs to speak. Her only chance was to tell Rivera himself. But she'd barely exchanged 10 words with him in her entire time there. Still, she couldn't just watch. When she reached the main hall, Rivera was laughing with a guest, a glass of whiskey in hand. His silver cufflinks caught the light, gleaming like miniature suns. Elena stepped forward, hesitant but determined. "Sir," she started, her voice almost breaking. He didn't even glance at her. "Later," he said, brushing past. Desperation clawed at her. She tried again. Sir, please, don't go to the car. It's not safe. That got his attention, and a frown. What did you say? Every pair of eyes in the room turned toward her. The other servants froze. The guards stiffened. For a moment, the only sound was the crackle of the fireplace. Elena's throat felt dry. They were talking near the garage, she whispered. Something about an explosion. Rivera blinked, then laughed, a sharp, dismissive sound. You must have misunderstood. My guards are loyal men, she shook her head. No, senor. They said it clearly. He raised his hand, silencing her. Enough. Go back to work. I don't need gossip from the help. The humiliation burned deep, but fear burned deeper. As he strode toward the garage, she followed at a distance, panic tightening her chest. She saw him toss his keys to one of the men, one of the same guards she'd overheard. The guard smiled, too calm, too ready. Elena's heart slammed in her chest. Sir! She called again, louder this time. Don't get in! Everyone turned. The laughter died. The guard's face flickered with alarm. A flash of something caught. And then, in the silence, Rivera finally hesitated. It was a fraction of a second, but enough for everything to change. Because of that hesitation, one of the guards made a move, a twitch toward his pocket, a look that wasn't supposed to be seen. And suddenly, Rivera's arrogance turned to realization. Something was very, very wrong. The moment froze. A heartbeat stretched into eternity. Rivera's hand hovered above the car door, confusion flickering into fear. The guard's expression hardened, his eyes darting toward the other man near the driver's seat. In an instant, Elena knew. She didn't think. She ran. Her voice tore through the courtyard, sharp and desperate. Get away from the car! The men turned, startled. One of them shouted something in Spanish. Now! Just as Rivera stumbled backward. A split second later, the world erupted. The explosion shattered the night. Fire burst from the car, heat slamming against Elena's body and throwing her to the ground. The glass windows of the mansion blew open in a wave of light and smoke. Alarms screamed. Somewhere someone was shouting orders, but it all sounded distant, muffled, unreal. Through the haze, she saw Rivera on the ground, coughing, blood tracing a line down his face. The two guards who'd conspired were gone, vanished into the chaos. And Elena, trembling, covered in ash, crawled toward him. Stay down, she whispered, shielding him from the debris. Her hands shook, her lungs burned, but she didn't stop until others rushed in. In those few minutes, the billionaire's entire empire of control crumbled because the woman he never noticed had just saved his life. The cameras caught it all, the blast, her scream, his shock. But only Elena knew the truth, that a single warning, ignored until the last second, had changed everything. Dear audience, where are you watching from? Drop your city name in the comments! The fire was out within an hour, but the damage ran deeper than the flames. Rivera's convoy was reduced to twisted metal, his pride to silence. The police arrived with flashing lights, the media with hungry questions. For once, Rivera, the man who had spoken over everyone, had nothing to say. Elena stood a few feet away, blanket wrapped around her shoulders, eyes vacant but steady. They called her the maid who saved a millionaire, but no one saw the fear that had nearly silenced her. The guards responsible had disappeared into the night, and the truth behind the plot would take weeks to unfold. Still, one thing was clear, and without her, Rivera wouldn't have lived to see morning days later. Rivera came to see her, not as the employer, but as a man humbled by the invisible woman who'd risked everything. He apologized awkwardly, words catching in his throat. She listened quietly, nodding once. Forgiveness wasn't hers to grant, only understanding. When asked later why she'd done it, she simply said, "Because I heard what others refused to listen to." The story spread across headlines, social media, and screens around the world, a reminder that power often blinds, but humanity sees what arrogance cannot. For Elena, life returned to quiet routines. But this time, when she walked those marble halls, people saw her. How many voices like hers go unheard every day until it's too late? Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more powerful stories and real-life lessons.